And what's your normal operating capacity?
It varies from day to day. Friday is extremely quiet.
Yeah.
Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday are usually the busier of the 4 remaining days.
Yeah.
But the others even themselves out. But Friday is ridiculously quiet.
Okay. Generally, any reason for that, or parents take days off work? Or?
Yeah. I've just found it previously where I've worked too that if you've got parents working part time, it tends to be a Friday they have off.
Yeah.
So.
And you're a private. You're for profit.
No, not for profit.
Not for profit.
Yep.
Okay. And how long have you worked here?
2 years.
Okay. And do you have much of a role in sort of putting in for subsidies and things like that, or is that...
In what sort of subsidies are you talking about?
Is in like the childcare benefits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We do all that administration,
Okay, and how does that process normally work? Like, just talk me through it when a
we
parent
use
comes
Quick
in.
Kids, so...
Quick Kids, yeah,
and pick that up.
Feel free to take that if you need to, huh?
So, Tommaso Fiaschi Childcare Centre, good morning, Lynn speaking. Yes. And have a look around the centre, so we invite them in to come and have a look around the centre and have a look, to ask any questions, and we try and tell them a little bit about the centre without killing them with overload. And then we talk about whether we've got space available, whether it's waiting list, where it goes from there. If we've got the space available, then we'll give them our handbook and our enrolment form, and then we'll talk about orientation and how that can work for them and what they want also. We offer and encourage visits, and any number of visits where a parent stays with the child. And that can happen at any time because they're not part of the staff-child ratio. Then as long as the parent's in the room or in the playground with them, they can come in
wander around
and do that. Don't have to make a booking for it. Touch wood, we haven't had 10 parents turn up at the same time for a visit. If we did, then we might have to consider
that'd be a bit rude,
booking,
wouldn't it?
But,
haven't had that issue yet.
And we say to the parents, look, find a corner to sit in and let the child go off. They're comfortable, they know you're there. Let them go off and wander. Don't hover around and be on top of them. And we also encourage the parents to take it up too, because it gives the parents a chance to get a feel for the room, for the way the staff are interacting with the children, to see what's happening throughout the day.
It's a bigger thing for the parents as it is for the kid,
Often
isn't it?
it's
bigger. Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So that's up to the parent, and the time also that they've got as to how many and the number of visits that they have. Then we offer them their first day of care is an orientation day, and we don't charge them for that day, and we encourage the parent to come in, stay with the child if they want to for a little while, but leave the child, and then to make it a short day or to make it a day where they ring us and see how the child's going.
Okay, so they might stay here for an hour, leave the child, and then
for a couple
check
of
in.
Hours. If the child's fine over that 2 hours, then we might encourage them to leave them a little bit longer. If they're upset, what we ask is that they're contactable and they're within the reasonable area that they can come back if need be for that day, and then from then on they start paying for their childcare. So.
And what's the cost of childcare a day?
We're 120 a day and 500 a week.
500 a week, okay. So there's a bit of a break for... And do you get many in for the full week?
Look, there's probably about 5 or 6. It's minimal,
Okay, so it's not that many.
No. And then there is a discount for
a month
centre staff using this. So we've got 2 staff using the centre, so there's a discount for staff using the centre.
And how many staff do you have employed? Or how many... Sorry, go ahead.
Of 2021.
2021?
Yep.
Okay. And how many of those working... Do you have like a set roster, or does it change depending on how many kids you got booked in?
No, we have set room staff.
Yep.
So, and then, we have casuals that we call in at the moment. Like the toddlers room is fluctuating in numbers, so there's actually a position in there that we can have and fill.
Yep.
But we only need that fourth person in there on a Thursday, so we use a regular casual.
Okay, that you just have on a Thursday.
At the moment, but if the numbers increase, then we'd have to look at filling that position.
So what are your rooms? Can you break those down? So you've got the toddler room.
Babies are 6 months to 18 months, 2 years.
6 months to 2 years.
And they're 8.
8, yep.
Toddlers are 2 to 3.
Yep.
And they're 16.
Yep.
And kinder is 3 to 5. And they're 30. And we also have an integrated kinder program.
Okay.
Funded
So that's
kinder program.
Okay, so much more focused on sort of early childhood education and...
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the breakdown of staff per room?
Okay. So there's 2 full-time staff in the baby's room.
2 full-time. And what's their qualification?
They're both diploma.
Diploma, yep.
And there's a part-time staff member works 9:30 to 4.
Okay. Part-time staff member. And someone that's done
And they're Cert 3.
a Cert 3, yeah. That's what my brother's doing at the moment.
Alright.
Yeah. And then the toddler room?
Toddler room at the moment there's 3 full-time staff.
Diploma again?
No, 2 diploma and 1
One Cert 3, yep.
Yep. And a part-time staff comes in 10 to 3:30.
Is that every day?
Yep.
Okay, so you've got the 3, so you've got the 2 full-time, the 2... Is that the 1 additional to the 3, or is that part of the 3?
No, that's part of...
That's part of the 3.
No, there's another... There's 4.
So there's 4, you have the 1 come in between 10 and...
Between 10 and 3:30.
Yeah.
And there's Cert 3.
That's Cert 3. And in the kinder?
In kinder, we've got 1 kinder teacher.
1 kinder teacher. Yep.
And 3 Cert 3.
3 Cert 3.
But one of those Cert 3s is getting their last assignment marked going up to diploma.
Okay.
So just about complete.
So you're pretty much... And they're going to stay on after they...
Yep.
So you're going to end up with 1 kinder teacher, 2 Cert 3s and 1 diploma.
Yeah, and one of the Cert 3s is 6 months away from completing her diploma.
Oh, so 2 of those Cert 3s are going to be
Yep.
having the diplomas. So.
Diploma, yep.
All right, great. Upskilling.
Yeah. And our educational leader floats.
Yep.
So is also there to backfill, and she's kinder teacher.
So educational leader's a man?
No.
No, sorry, I thought you just said Phil.
No, she. No.
Oh, she,
no,
sorry.
Marlo, yes.
Marlo, okay.
Yeah, so she's not our kinder teacher in the kinder room.
Yep.
Yeah,
So Marlo's your educational leader?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do you have any... Is it completely female staff?
It is, unfortunately, yes.
Oh, it's not unfortunately.
Oh, no, it'd be nice
to have a
male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not a common thing, I've
it's
found.
not.
No.
Yeah.
Next question I wanted to ask you. Just if you have any... I mean, like any sort of... This is just free range, whatever. Any qualms with how services are delivered, like provisions delivered from the state government down to you guys, or the federal government down to you guys, if anything could be improved? It's a hard question.
Yeah. Probably at the moment, the new funding model coming in is still confusing.
Yeah.
Even though they're sending out information and that sort of, Rena, come and get it.
Do you think confusing for you guys, or confusing for parents, or both?
I guess just following up, and I haven't really looked at it again this year.
Yeah.
I have to
Mhm.
sit down and make some dedicated time to actually sit
It's hard
down
to do sometimes,
and
find the time.
and look at it.
Yeah.
And, it could be something I do at home and get where I can totally just focus on it, sort of thing. But,
Yeah.
and I guess it's like all new things. It was the same when CCB rolled out.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. It was that
Just a bit of time
unknown
to get
as
used
to
to
how
it.
it's going to really figure, and I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
It'll flow through once it's all it's there and it's sitting in front of us and that sort of thing. But
Yeah. And this is a tough question as well, but what sort of demographic of families do you generally get in, or is it quite outside of the AEMP?
Yep.
What's
we have a lot of two-parent families.
a lot of two-parent families?
We don't have very many single parents. And I guess I say that because my background, I've always worked in areas where it's been the other way around. So this was a real shell shock.
Generally
for
being
me.
single-parent families, okay.
When I came here, it was really great to see the.
Do you think that's because both parents are working rather than? Yeah.
And it's a mixture. We have a mixture of socio-economic. So we have a few that are on full childcare benefit.
Yep.
And a couple from the commission flats.
Yep.
In that area. Two others that are both professional parents working.
Earning a good wage.
Earning a good salary and.
Yep. That's probably a very good thing.
It is.
To have,
Have a mixture of nationalities.
Yep.
Probably, I don't know that it would be quite 50-50. But a mixture of nationalities.
Yep.
That's also reflected in our staff. Because we've got a number of multicultural staff employed as well. So,
Okay, fantastic. And in terms of, I guess, like regulatory sort of accountability things, how often are you guys subject to someone coming in, having a look at?
I can't speak previously to 2 years.
Sure.
But last year was the first time.
Okay.
That.
While you've been here,
and we also had our ratings and assessment visit last year as well. So
And in your past lives in the sector, how often generally would you have someone come in and?
Well, with the previous regs and before accreditation was brought in, it would be at least every year, maybe twice a year, that somebody would just call in from the department and do a visit. And they had to do sort of like a semi-annual inspection anyway, where they called in and saw centres. With accreditation, it became less than that. It tended to be more. With the old accreditation system, the department still used to come in because it was separate. It was peers that did the accreditation. With the new ratings and assessment system, when it went over to the department doing the visits and doing the assessments, I found that it was less. It was, more.
More pre.
It was more pre. With the new ratings and assessment visit, they don't tend to call in as often, or it might be once or twice, like I say.
Once every 2 years or something,
until last year.
Did it feel more thorough, the previous one, than prior to?
Oh, no, she did. When she come out and did it, she did a reasonably thorough one.
But was there much difference? That we'll go from that split. Was there much difference?
No, I think it was
after
probably
the
time-wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing I want to ask you is, so since the national quality frameworks come in, how long have you been in the sector?
Too long.
Too long?
I was in my previous role nearly 29 years.
Oh, okay.
As coordinator,
Oh, so, okay, you're a wealth of knowledge then. So, post the framework coming in and these new expectations of having particular qualifications for staff.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen that change the, I guess, in the bottom line for centres operating? Has it made it more difficult in terms of...
Bottom line budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. Although we were lucky and we never ever used junior staff, or were getting away with... I'd worked for non-profit right through.
Yep.
So I wasn't ever put into the situation where I had to use junior staff to save on budget and that, like a lot of centres were. So we always had that, and I never had the situation where I had to fight for staff. They always provided staff to me, ratios. Not over ratio, but
The right
at
ratio.
least the ratio was met. So I wasn't arguing or skimping on that. I'd argue for more staff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You weren't bone dry in terms of...
No. So, yeah, it was... But, yeah, it did have an effect, and salaries is the biggest
Huge
part
one, yeah.
of the budget. So, yeah, sometimes perhaps other things missed out. If you had to make a savings to allow for the salaries, then it was, looking at perhaps equipment or something like that that missed out on it. The other thing I think was the biggest one on the budget was having casuals and staff to come in and do the relief, because it was really hard to keep a pool of casuals and enough. So
Because the work wasn't there, or because the hourly rate wasn't...
No, perhaps because of the nature of being casual and only called in if
Once every...
somebody was away
Sure.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once you start using agencies, that's a huge cost too. So, yeah.
And you find throughout your journey, has, in terms of you seeing young people come into the sector, is the turnover rate of them leaving the sector quite high because of the, I guess, you know, compared to other sectors, there's not as big a room for salary growth?
We've been fairly lucky in that all through we haven't seen a lot of changeover in my previous role either, and the changeover has been really quiet here. I think in 2 years we've probably lost 3 staff.
That's good.
Yeah, so it hasn't been. I think the sector as a whole has that to answer for.
Yeah.
That the salary isn't, and I think the changes with the accreditation and quality systems has been brilliant for the industry, but it hasn't reflected down
The
to
amount of education into how much...
and the work that educators are being asked to do hasn't been reflected, so they're not getting rewarded for the work that they're actually doing.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Yeah.
And that with it, so yeah, I think that's where
There needs to be improvement,
basically.
Yeah.
You know, you look at it with a role with teachers and that sort of thing, and they're not getting that recognition. And
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the research I've read into sort of alludes to this age of child education to be much more difficult than primary.
Yeah.
Not to put the two against each other, but just in terms of the attention that's required.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you proactively made sure that you stayed in the non-for-profit sector, or was that just how the cards fell?
It's a sector I prefer to be in, and if I was to go private, I would be researching private, because I'd be being hypocritical otherwise with things that I've said at times about the private sector. So I wouldn't willy-nilly just go into any private centre. If I was going private, I would be definitely looking at what it was.
What have your qualms with the private sector?
I think about whose pocket they're lining as to does it line a pocket, or do they believe in the job that they're doing and the children and educating the children and providing quality care and service and then looking after their staff, and not shortcutting on the staff and the provisions for that. So if they're a private provider that have that in their philosophy and show it in what they're doing at ground level, then yeah, that's fine. But if they're there to make a profit and it doesn't matter what the way they're treating the children or the staff and that sort of thing, then yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean...
And I have seen both. I've seen really good private centres and ones that are just there to make a profit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got that added sort of hurdle of keeping investors or shareholders happy as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just talking about the slim margins that a non-for-profit centre runs off, is it hard to sort of see a centre operating with that money and then also having to give a return to... I can't
picture how they can do it when you think of the budgets that we're operating on, and we're still operating reasonable minimal. I mean, there's a lot more that we could do and would love to do, or that we're raising money for and that sort of thing, to actually look at running quality service with a profit sector. So I would be very careful, because I have said a number of times.
Does it make you a bit frustrated that we move towards that market driven sort of model of having private centres instead of keeping it state controlled? Yeah.
And I think
because you would have been in the sector. Sorry to interrupt. You've been in the sector before Howard came in.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was sort of when it was really put out to market, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you see a difference between Keating era and then Howard coming in?
And then I also worked in TAFE.
Yeah.
So that was where I had 29 years. And even though we were a childcare centre within a TAFE organisation, when the funding cuts hit TAFE, they hit us drastically as well.
Sure.
So even being non-for-profit in that area were huge cuts and that sort of thing, so it changes.
Yeah, it was an odd evolution of a market model. When I didn't know much about it until sort of looking into it for this research report, but it's very, especially compared with, it's a very unique model. I don't think I've seen anywhere else in the world which operates with
And we went from being funded by the state government, as well as getting childcare benefit, to having that funding cut, to going back to just childcare benefit, and which was a huge difference for us working in the field and also our clientele, and
I mean, it sort of changes it to then, I guess, without necessarily the parents having the knowledge of it, but once that happens, they're directly responsible for, I guess, the quality of the care, where they're putting their money into which centres it goes. That would have been difficult as well, I guess, because you may not be as well researched as a state government, sort of seeing where the funding should go. So a lot of money going into your ABCs and...
That's right.
Yeah. All right, great. That's pretty much all I had, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
I think so, no.
Okay, fantastic.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, just in time as well.
No, not a problem.
All right, then. Thank you. It was lovely to meet you.
Thank you. No.